You get a line, you get an image. There's a memory that won't leave you alone, and you go after those things. Then if that's inspiration, then okay.
It's this inspiration that has driven Stanley Plumly to write poems for the past 50 years. He's fashioned a career around it, publishing 9 books of poetry on topics as personal as his parents and as public as war, and serving as director of the creative writing program at the University of Maryland. To honor his body of work and to help promote poetry to the masses, Governor Martin O'Malley has named Plumly the new Poet Laureate of Maryland. A 7-person committee unanimously recommended him for the high-profile role.
It was finally the beauty of his words, the strength of his work, the excellence of his poetry that compelled us to recommend his appointment.
He is a master of tone. He writes about tone with more acuity than any other poet, and he inhabits it in his work gorgeously. You always feel in the presence of something quietly gorgeous when you read a Stanley Plumly poem.
During the ceremony with the governor, Plumly read his poem Long Companions, which he says fits his life onto 2 pages.
Then we grow into a life of unintended consequences, promises, spilled milk, the Great Wall, the Berlin Wall, any wall on which too much is written.
For Plumly, mastering the art of poetry required practice, similar to his early basketball pursuits. He says he played the sport every day, growing up in Ohio and Virginia.
It was a way to kind of order your life and a way to deal with energy. And the other thing I did was read. In chunks of time, I must have written several hundred poems between the time I was 19 and 23. Most all of them pretty bad. And then I wrote a good one when I was about 23 and thought, maybe I could do this.
Well, I mean, Stanley is an absolute master. He's one of the great poets writing in the country right now. And he's a brilliant teacher. He's a master teacher, too.
Plumly started teaching to pay off college loans. After 50 years of teaching at the University of Maryland, Princeton, Columbia, the University of Iowa, and others, he says he gets everything out of it. He currently teaches a graduate seminar in the Romantic Lyric and says it's a lot of fun. As with his writing, he's developed his own style.
You teach by example. And when you stop doing that, they stop listening. It's not just what you say, it's who you are. And they sense that.
He could tell you what was wrong with your poems. He could tell you what was right with them, but he would never dictate to you what was proper, you know? I think he taught us to be open and to look outside ourselves as well as inside ourselves.
Now, as Poet Laureate, Plumly will host readings across the state. He hopes his love of poetry will be contagious.
The only assignment, I think, is to make poetry alive and vital in the moment of your encounter with your audience, and hope that some in the audience will find it interesting enough, compelling enough to read it on their own.